Good evening everyone. Today we are going to see about the safety checkpoints in self-generating AC coaches. The first and foremost is the safety of the personnel working in the underframe. We should make sure that the danger boards have been placed on top of the rake, and then only we should allow our staff to enter the underframe for checking. Personal protective equipments like safety helmet, gloves and safety shoes are a must. The underframe components to be checked in the AC coaches are given below. In the axle pulley section, we should check for tightness of 8 numbers of studs with the availability of check nuts and split pins in each of the stud bolts. The gap between two halves of the axle pulley should be 3 mm with a tolerance of 0.5 mm. Any signs of shifting of axle pulley should be observed and necessary action should be taken. On fixing the axle pulley, good new rubber pad should be used and the wheel axle should be painted with yellow or brown kind paints for indication of any future shifting. In the tensioning device assembly section, we should check for the condition of the springs and the rods for any cracks. The free swinging movement of the alternator and working of the tension rod should be ensured. Availability of all the split pins and provision of the split pins in the proper position should be ensured. The split pins should not be provided in the inverted position to avoid them from falling. The bogie brackets need to be checked for any signs of crack. Proper seating of the tension rod backboard need to be ensured. Any kind of bracket disfiguration like ovaling and a crack in the bracket might damage the tension rod backboard and prevent free action of the tension rod, which may cause overstrain in the tension rod and may cause it to break. In the alternator section, we should check for the alternator pulley lock nut tightness and the availability of its split pin. The lock nut should not be loose so that the alternator pulley will not come out of the shaft and fall down. In the workshop, minimum 80% mating of the alternator pulley and the alternator shaft should be ensured. Alternator suspension pin head should be provided with the proper lock plate to avoid rotation of the pin. The tightness of nut and split pins should be checked at rear end of the suspension pin. The alternator suspension bracket should be inspected for any kind of visual cracks, and if any is available, it should be immediately attended with the cooperation of the mechanical department. There should not be any gap between the bogie bracket and alternator mounting, which may lead to sideways movement of the alternator, which in turn causes the alternator bushes to wear out. If any is available, proper washer should be provided to prevent the lateral ply. The availability of 3 numbers of safety chains with the proper bolt nut and split pins should be ensured. It is the second line of defense. The sides of the bogie bracket should be checked for any kind of shining, which means the bogie bush has worn out. It should be immediately replaced. The alternator terminal wire tightness should be checked in every trip. Any signs of overheating or discoloration should be observed and rectified. The terminal wire should not be bypassed. The availability of proper alternator terminal cover should be ensured to prevent water or dust entry inside the terminal cover. FRP cleat should be available for proper securing of the cables. In the RRU section, we should inspect the condition of the mounting bracket welding. Proper tightness of RRU fixing bolt nut and availability of split pin should be ensured. The regulator cover needs to be closed properly and securely to prevent them from falling. Proper tightness of the regulator terminal bolts and availability of the cable grommets should be checked to avoid the wires being cut, the insulation being damaged by the metal surface. Proper rating of the fuses need to be provided. Only HRC fuses should be provided, and there should not be any wire diffusers inside the regulator section. The regulator cover should have healthy condition rubber gasket to prevent water or dust entry inside, and it may lead to short circuit inside the regulator. Over voltage protection unit should be checked for correct working using OEP testing kit, and it should work at 140 voltage. The battery box mounting bolt nut should be checked. There should be 16 numbers of battery box mounting bolt nuts with check nuts and split pins. The cell crates in case of VRLA should also be checked for their fixing bolt nuts, tightness and intactness. The tightness of the fuse base and wire connection should be ensured. Availability of cable grommets to prevent rubbing and damage of wires with the metal body should be checked. The battery box covers should be visually observed for any cracks and damages. The availability of wing nuts in all the covers and the safety clip underneath the cover should be ensured. This will prevent the doors from falling off during running of the trains. Proper rating of the HRC fuse should be ensured, which is 400 amperes in case of 1100H VRLA battery. In the batteries, we should check for the tightness of all the ICC wires. Visual inspection should be done for signs of any crack or bulging in the cells. Acid leakage from the cells will create an earth in the coach, which should be avoided at any cost. We should check for sulfation in the cells or in the ICC. If any is available, it should be cleaned or the ICC should be replaced. Weeding out of cells should be done every fortnight, and proper charging of the cells should be done as per the SMI to avoid reverse polarity, open or internal short circuit in the cells, which may cause fumigation or smoke emanation from the cells. The vent plug should be cleaned to avoid the gas pressure to rise inside the VRLA cells. In the inverter cubicle, the mounting and fixing bolt nuts with the split pin should be in good condition. The inverter body should be checked for any damage and corrosion to prevent water or dust entry. We should repair if any such kind of anomaly is noted. Availability of good condition rubber gasket should be ensured in the inverter cubicle also. Proper securing and healthy steel ropes in some makes of inverter like the autometers should be ensured for additional safety. The inverter capacitors and the IGBTs should be checked every quarter for any defects or short circuits. Otherwise, it may cause short circuit or in worst cases the capacitors to burst. The working of fans inside some makes of inverters like the high rack should be ensured to avoid overheating of the internal equipments of the inverter. We should make sure no protection is in bypassed condition. In the battery charging unit, mounting arrangement should be checked for intactness. Availability of proper rating of HRC fuses should be checked, which is 250 amps for DC side and 63 amps for AC side. While charging the terminals, the temperature anomalies should be checked with a thermal imager for any kind of abnormality, and it should be rectified. The securing of the cables should be ensured, and also the availability of proper grommets in the inverter body should be ensured. In the underframe wiring section, all the wires should be available with thin hoses or pipes, and no bare or loose hanging wire should be available. Proper securing of the cable hoses with C-clamp should be ensured. Tightness of wires inside the junction box should be checked and inspected for any kinds of overheating or discoloration. All the cables should be properly terminated with suitable size of crimping socket